I'm sitting here in this auditorium listening to my esteemed colleagues and thinking about what I'm planning on saying about publications. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, you know what I need to do? I need to change my title. This is not what I want to say. What I want to say is, and what happens if it all goes horribly wrong? Oh, I spelled that incorrectly, but I think you get the point. And I'm just going to change my name here because I want to leave this place safely. So, no, distributed, but digitally disgruntled. Okay, I'm ready to start now. Oops, I didn't spell it like that. I just spelled disgruntled. Disgruntled. Well, you get the point. Okay. What I want to do now is share with you some recent experience that totally freaked me. And I'm kind of hoping it'll freak you. But on the other hand, we're also dedicated what we do in putting our stuff out there for everybody to do what they want. I've been doing this all my professional career. And everything I've done has been with this in mind. We have these wonderful things in our collections, and what we want to do is to get it out there for everybody to use. So I'm looking at what happens when people say to us, we want it, and we want it all, and we want it all now. And you know, go back to my office and say to my staff, we have to put this exhibition online, and this collection has to go online tomorrow. And then people who walk around with a smartphone, you know, they hold up their thing in the palm of their hand, and if something is missing from one of our exhibitions that we didn't manage to put online, they complain because it should be there. This is the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. So my problem is, how does the museum, how do we as museum curators, I'm a curator of new media, how do we keep up with this frenetic publishing demand? When the museum, as we all know, it kind of works at a different pace. You know, collecting, curating, conserving is a mode, and it goes really, really slowly. So to pull the curators in and say, well, you've got an exhibition opening next week, we need your material now because it has to go live. They don't like that. No, well, I've got an exhibition. We can't share it with you. So this is the real world that I live in, and I'm quite worried that our users who are tweeting and sharing and liking and all the rest of it, and moving things around, are expecting a lot more from us, and we just can't deliver. And we can't deliver because we can't maintain museum quality. And what I want to look at now with you here, with your permission, and that's why I changed my name at the end so I can go out quietly. Let's say that we do manage to meet this demand, what is lost in the process? So this is my responsibility as a curator. And this experience, this formative experience, happened to me a couple of weeks ago in our own conference, international conference in Jerusalem, Eva Minerva. It's our 9th annual conference. And I just presented our Google Art project. The Israel Museum is taking part in the Google Art project. We have 520 gorgeous, very high resolution images that we put on the Google Art project. We're very happy with this, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of made a comment, but we don't really want these high resolutions getting out there into the public domain because we gave permission to Google to use them on our behalf, but we are the copyright holders and they are representing us. So that was our contractual relationship with them. And the next day, the second part of the conference, somebody whose name I'm not going to mention from the OKFN announced that they had taken every single image out of the Google Art project and put it into Wikimedia Commons under an OO licensing. And he showed our collections in Wikimedia Commons sitting there, not at the very, very high resolution, but much higher resolution than we would have ever permitted. And my colleagues, and anybody who knows Amalia Keshet from the museum who's in charge of licensing, went white. You know, how did you get it? Well, he said, we took it off website, you know, it's in the public domain. No, it's in Google. I didn't have a problem with that so much as that it was enveloped under the Google institutional concept. It was a Google project, and somewhere the Israel Museum was mentioned as the location of the artwork, and you could link to us and fine, but we were enveloped as the artworks were enveloped as the Google Art project. And this made me feel really bad, because we hadn't agreed. Well, we remedied this. We spoke to Google, we spoke to the Wikimedia people, and everything was easily remedied. This is what we know about. But what happens, we don't know about things. Our museum has signed a contractual relationship with Europeana, which means 6,000 something or other of our artworks are out there in zero licensing again, free reuse, okay? Free reuse. We have put them out there, and a lot of people have done that, I presume, who are all in commons, free use, who all agreed, signed their souls away. We all have done that. But what happens when this is misused? And this is what I want to talk about now, the misuse of the reuse. And it's keeping me up at night. So what is lost? So number one, anything you put online is quite complicated because you change the perspective, you change the size of things, and people don't necessarily know what they're looking at. You reduce the quality because it has to shunt through networks and appear online. And the most important thing, and this is my pet peeve, and this is what I want to rant about today, and this is why I came to Hong Kong, you lose authority, okay? And I am very pro user-generated content. I sit on the committee in Europeana of user-generated content. I created this, and I've done so much about putting user-generated content online, but I'm not sure it's a good idea, because you lose authority, and what happens at the end of the day? So a few examples. Would anybody know that this work by Oded Moromi, which is an enormous artwork, if you receive this, on your smartphone, at the end of the day, and you're looking at this, you may get his name, you may not, you may know it's in the Israel Museum, but you don't get the wow factor, you don't get the scale of it, you have no idea the story behind it, and I think you're doing a disservice to this particular work. I just put this thing, I had no idea, it didn't look like that on my smartphone. Those can't read it in red, which is a really stupid color to use. But people come into the museum, and this is the upper entrance, and the first thing they see is this artwork about a guy from South Tel Aviv. We have a lot of African immigrants or refugees who are coming into South Tel Aviv, and this is the artistic kind of interpretation of what this means for our community, which is a new kind of engagement with the other. The loss of lossiness, okay? You put something out there and you lose so much. And when you look at this artwork, well, obviously, nobody in this room thinks they're looking at the Mona Lisa, do you? Because you all know it's Duchamp's kind of moustache on the Mona Lisa. But when you come across this fellow here on your smartphone or your tablet, do you know you're not looking at Duchamp's famous Mona Lisa? You're looking at another Duchamp, but it's a photocopy plus his interpretation, annotation of this version. So you're looking at these generations of artwork that have gone through these iterations, but anybody who receives this without the enveloping, without the correct metadata, and without the understanding that you're looking at a photocopy of a collage, of an oil painting, this is all lost somehow. This is all compressed. And Peter, you were talking about this information that's so, where's Peter? Oh. Yes, no. It was so critical to understanding the artworks. It's been compressed out of this process, and this is completely lost. So what gets me, though, is the curator is the person who does have the authority to make these calls. People who have spent their entire professional lives in the field, they do know what they're talking about. And as soon as you release these objects and they go spinning off, and spiraling out of control, they lose their configuration. So I want to help us think about this. I had this conversation with this friend of mine who is a professor of pediatric clinical doctor. And she says that she has serious conversations with patients who come to her in her clinic with parents who are losing control of children because of this loss of authority. And she helped me understand this through this diagram. You see this range of being responsive or not. If you are too responsive and too tight and holding on to your collections or your children, you become authoritarian, and that's somewhere we don't need to be. And if you are losing your collections or your children, you become neglectful. We don't want to be there either. So moving along, we don't really want to be indulgent either, but we would like to be, and I think that's where we should be trying to be, is this authoritative position when we are not neglecting and we are nurturing, but we are allowing a sense of freedom for our children, or in my case, in the collections. And the last point I want to make is the idea of the authority of the brand. And a couple of days ago, where's Len? Len very kindly took me out to downtown Hong Kong, and we kind of looked around all the different shops with all the different brands in Hong Kong. And he was sort of saying, look at all the tourists people are buying, and all these things are very expensive and are really impressive, and looking at these enormous shops, and they felt like you're in Mayfair in London or Fifth Avenue in New York, and here we are in Hong Kong, very impressive. And then the next evening I had a meal with another friend of mine who's a local economist, political economist, and he's telling me that the people getting off the ferries from Hong Kong, and they're coming to Hong Kong from China. I don't want to insult anybody here, but they're coming to China to buy the brands, because if they just spend the money on the same brands back in China, they may or may not get a fake. So they know if they come to Hong Kong, they're getting an authoritative brand. So this is something that made me think more about this idea of authority. And what happens if you lose authority? So, 1 minute? Was that the end?
That's the end.
1 minute, 1 minute. Libraries know what they're doing. It's already 1 minute. Libraries know what they're doing. You know, OCLF, LCC, they have authority files in place. These are ideas that we're thinking about, that you can go to a source and you can find exactly the name and the description of the artist or the object. And there is a way of maintaining authority. So, of course, it's complicated. And I've got my real name here, so I should have changed that as well. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say, my pet peeve.